Everyone can please place their hand over their heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Lloyd Johnson. I live in the city of West Covina. I come to you on a threefold tonight. First of all, I come to you tonight not with hatred in my heart, but with sadness. First, as a father, and as a teacher, Mr. Salcido should not be teaching your children. He has too much hatred and disrespect in his heart for our military. Mr. Salcido, until you have put on a pair of boots, put a rifle in your hand, and stood guard protecting our Constitution, as veterans, we would appreciate if you keep your opinion to yourself and not teach it to our children. First, if our veterans are so uneducated, how many of presidents have been in the military? How many senators, congressmen, assemblymen, judges, teachers, doctors, lawyers, police officers, firemen, governors, city leaders, and many, many more, all highly educated. Next, I come to you as a disabled Vietnam Marine veteran who went to Vietnam in 1968 serving our country. And I stand here tonight and say, Mr. Salcido has the right to say what he has to say, and I would fight for him to say that, but not to our children in the classroom. It doesn't belong there. And last, like I said, my name is Lloyd Johnson. I live in the city of West Covina, and I am on the West Covina City Council. I am the Mayor Pro Tem. As a leader, you have to understand, when you say something in public, you're not only representing yourself, you're representing the city. You stand up there and you say something negative about our military, and it reflects not only on you, it reflects on your council, and it reflects on the residents of it. And I know Pico Rivera is a great city for our military. That is something that cannot be denied. So when you say stuff like that, you show disrespect not only to yourself personally, you show our children the hatred that you actually have in your heart. Years ago, we had a police officer in West Covina by the name of pacifist. He was in a gunfight with a bad guy, and thank God he's okay. He's back to work. But his statement was said, if it wasn't for his military training in the Marine Corps, he didn't know if he'd have made it through.
Council members and city staff, my name is Dennis Azevedo. I'm a proud retired military person of 8 years. Bob, I salute you and every military person in here. I think everybody who has relatives in the military, who has been in the military, is going to find it hard to forgive Mr. Salcido. One thing I'm going to let everybody in my VFW know is that tonight I witnessed something that I've never seen in a city council. I'm a director of a water company. I've never seen this at any of the meetings. I've been well over 100 meetings. I witnessed him not pledge allegiance to the flag of this country. I find that extremely, extremely bad manners for a council person. I find his arrogance and his attitude to be very humiliating for you people. This man has caused Pico Rivera to be on the map in a very negative manner. I hope that you as a city council do the right thing, that you have the power to censor him. You use that power to censor him. But his arrogance, his inability to acknowledge what he did, it's just bad light for everybody. I piggyback on what this man here said. I'm a two-time Vietnam veteran. And if it wasn't for the military, I probably wouldn't have went to college and graduated. I'm a proud retired LAPD police officer. And I think for many of us, the military was the turning point in our lives that helped us make our lives the way they are today. Thank you for your time. I hope you do the right thing. Mr. Salcido, save everybody in this community the embarrassment of a recall. Do the right thing and resign. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make some comments? Thank you. Just for clarification, anyone who knows me, I don't recite the Pledge of Allegiance, but that has nothing to do with a lack of patriotism. I don't think the Pledge of Allegiance encompasses my sense of Americanism. However, I always respect it. I would never disrespect anybody else's desire to do so. If you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance, that's fine. And time to stand up, I'll stand up always. Star Spangled Banner, whatever happens to be. And that's it's an easy expression of the First Amendment. If you disagree, that's fine. But to demonize me because we see things different, I believe I understand the Constitution as well as any lay person. I pay my taxes on time and accurately. I love being American. I'll tell you a quick story. When my son was born 10 years ago, we're at Whittier Presbyterian Hospital, and it's maybe about 2 hours after he was born. He was 6 weeks early, so they had to put him in the NICU to make sure everything was fine, which was fine with us. We wanted to make sure that everything was working properly. So he was in the NICU, and my wife was sleeping, and then a nurse comes in. And the nurse comes in, and she has the birth certificate information. And she goes, congratulations on the baby boy, it's your first. She's very congratulatory and nice and decent. And she says, well, here's the birth certificate information. Just look it over and sign it, make sure everything's right. And I look at it, and it had our ethnicity as being Hispanic. And I tell the lady, I go, we're not that. And she goes, oh, what are you, Indian? Are you Samoan? She's like looking at us and you're trying to figure out what we are. And I tell her, no, we're American. I go, just like you. And she looks at me, well, what do you mean? I go, we're American. I go, it should say American. I go, there's nothing that doesn't say American there. We're not going to sign it. My wife's sitting in the bed. She said, yeah. Then she goes, I'll be back. And she turns around all upset at me. She comes back about 20 minutes later. She says, the supervisor says you can put other. And I go, oh, if there's not American, we'll put other. But I see myself as an American. I don't look at myself as Latino, Hispanic, anything like that. If you do, that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with you, but please don't think there's anything wrong with me. I'm American. I love being American. Now, I never, as it relates to these instances, these comments that were attributed to me, and I hope I can get the time because 2 weeks ago, no one cared about anything I had to say. All they wanted to do was beat me up, and we made it real easy for them. We let people keep bringing in those green cards as long as they kept coming. We've never done that before. We put a tent out there. We put a TV out there. Essentially, all we needed was a spotlight to bring people, come over here and beat this guy up. And the first order of business was these gentlemen asking me to resign, which is ridiculous, completely ridiculous. The only thing that I would say about this, unauthorized and out of context audio video is this is the easiest thing. I'm trying to tell my students that they're much better off choosing a college education over military enlistment out of high school. I think that's as obvious as the fact that we're sitting here. The numbers would back that up. And the next thing, those who do choose military enlistment over a college education are typically the lowest performing students. They're not low in moral character necessarily. They're the lowest performing students. That's the only point that I would make on that issue. Mr. Mayor, are you going to let them interrupt?
Continue.
All right, the last time you left no one from either side of this table stopped anybody.
Councilmember, they just spent a comment like the rest of them did. Come on, don't get exaggerated here. Please.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you used the word exaggerate. This situation is the most exaggerated thing I've ever seen. The interesting thing is just I'm in the middle of it. And the only comments that I made are saying that high school, a college education is superior to military enlistment. That's it. Point that I would make on that issue. Mr. Mayor, are you going to let them interrupt?
Continue.
All right, the last time you left no one from either side of this table stopped anybody.
Councilmember, they just spent a comment like the rest of them did. Come on, don't get exaggerated here. Please.
Okay, I think that's obvious. If you disagree with that, that's fine. Then somebody on the opposite side of how I feel about things makes a fake, fraudulent social media post that had profanity laced, saying F the military, F these veterans, and you were gullible enough to fall for it. And if you don't believe me that these posts are fraudulent, you could ask the captain. He had to put a task force together to actually get people to stop jumping onto my social media. And during that process, several people made death threats to me and my family. Threats to rape my wife, threats to make my son an orphan, and you're on that side? You're out of your mind. I'll take the Pico Rivera that I grew up in, the Pico Rivera that I live in today. In my daily life, it's all Pico. No one promotes Pico more than I do. In my daily life, the places that I shop, the things that I do from day to day, the activities. I just left the park with my son at basketball practice. No one loves Pico more than I do. And whatever happens in this situation, it's not going to change that. I mean, the government of Pico Rivera is not Pico Rivera. It's the people who are Pico Rivera. And I'll continue to live that life. And anyone who knows me knows that's the truth. But this is completely exaggerated. And no elected leader, whether it's sitting up here or sitting across the street somewhere, has done anything to calm the situation. Their action 2 weeks ago had nothing to do with healing. It was just further hurt. They made it easy for people to come after me. And I'm saying people were trying to kill me. People were trying to hurt my family because their feelings got hurt over comments that weren't intended toward them. And no one has said anything about that. None of these gentlemen even asked about that. Didn't check up on me. How's your family doing? No one did. And I understand it because you're politicians. They don't want to give healing. They want to make sure that they give you blood. And that's not appropriate in this situation. I made the comment earlier about the apartment. Sober leadership. Leadership doesn't yell fire. You put the fire out. You don't make it harder for people. But that's what's happened up here. And that's fine. They have a right to do that. That's no problem. But if you think I'm going to lay down and just give up this seat, you're crazy. I mean, I'm the longest serving elected official in this community. No one has been in their seat longer than I have. And very frankly, most of the people who will be active regarding a recall are the people that want to sit right here. That's the main reason. Watch out. Watch their motivations. They want right here, and they're looking for some reason to get in. So,
Please.
So, bottom line, if there's any comments attributed to me that have offended a veteran, it was certainly inaccurate, because that's not what I'm trying to do, and I will apologize. Why would I want to do that to you? I apologized 2 weeks ago. No one cared about that. I have no intention to hurt you. My family has served this country in the military just as much as anybody. So I mean, it bothers me when people try to outdo each other militarily. There's people in my family that are in the military right now. I'm not against the military. I am for education, and the only comment I was making was to a student who was, I believe, blindly choosing military over an education, and we were discussing it. No more than that. That's it. But as Johnny said, and none of these speakers here who came up to defend me today, it's not planned on my part. They're here on their own accord, and I'm thankful. I'm glad that they're here. It's not something I told them to do. I wouldn't do that. I never tell people to come over and make our meetings rougher. Not everyone can say that. I don't do that. Never. There's been situations that have been controversial with some of my colleagues. I don't call people and say, let's go make it even harder for them. I want as much calmness in this up here on this dais and in this room as possible. So if anyone has an issue with me, really, as Johnny said, you can talk to me. My numbers are all public. I mean, I'll tell you what I think. If we disagree, fine. But we have a right to disagree with each other without being vindictively or violently disagreeable. That won't ever be me. Can you all say the same? Thank you.
First and foremost, I didn't plan on making any comments, but I feel compelled to do so. As I mentioned, as the green cards were finishing up, I did open it up to any additional folks that want to comment. So just like I said it before, I say it again, nothing different. I don't get into a dialogue conversation, but let me make my comments. Second, the issue here of the last meeting, somehow, some way, we conspired to sensationalize and provide this audio, video, and so forth. This was a reaction to the amount of folks who said they were going to be here. So to accommodate the many speakers and individuals that obviously had that right to express themselves, we accommodated that additional, because this room wasn't big enough. So I think it was something that we did for the community, which was, once again, a reaction to what was said and done. And people.
The reaction is the story.
I allow you to speak, Councilmember. Let me make my comments. In addition to that, I have every, as I spoke to the captain, the safety of Mr. Salcido's family is definitely paramount, and no doubt there was quite a lot of resources spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point, on the safety of Mr. Salcido, on the safety of our community, and the safety of these rallies and so forth. One thing I want to point out, that it's unfortunate that, as Mr. Salcido mentions about his family, which he has every right to, and we got to keep every family safe. that a lot of people called here. We had hundreds of calls to the facility, and there was about 3 to 4 staff members who were receiving death threats themselves. We were getting bomb threats here in the city. I mean, there was a lot of fear that was imposed on our residents and our employees here because of an action of an individual.
No way.
And so
The reaction of
I
these
have
people.
stacks
No
and
way.
stacks of letters.
There's no way. There's no way you can say that anything I said. No.
No. I have the chair. I will finish
Yeah,
my remarks.
I'm not going to
giving
let you say that.
I'm giving
You're
you
saying
what-
that people made death. That the
Yes, yes,
problem
they
says
did.
someone here got a death threat
Yes,
because
they
of my
did.
words,
Yes, they did.
not their psychosis.
Yes, they did.
Nah, you're not out of your mind.
Second, I want to make
Out of
sure
your
that it's
mind.
clear about there are many people that were fearful in this facility. So I mean, again, we're trying to keep this place safe. When I was told by the captain that we had to put a metal detector, I told the captain, absolutely not. We can't have a metal detector here. The captain told me, you know what? The threats are real. So we must put, now whether they were coming to do something negative to my colleague here or to others, we couldn't take a risk. We put a metal detector because of the amount of threats that this facility was getting. So we didn't do this because we wanted to somehow sensationalize this. We did it because there was a reaction to keep every single person safe that was here, no matter what position you were in. So this was a reaction. All of this that we've done was a reaction. Lastly, this body, when we began to message and respond to this situation of Mr. Salcido's comments, first and foremost, we say, you know what? We condemn his comments. His comments are not reflective of us, and this community is not going to be defined by these comments. So we have always kept a very professional approach of how we deal with, because we are a great city. We're about to celebrate, we're starting to celebrate our 60th anniversary. So there's a lot of great things to talk about. We're good. We got temporarily derailed, but we'll get back on track. But this is a reactionary approach, not some, all of a sudden we conspired. So that's appalling to hear of that. I mean, you deal with your situation, you handle the opinions, people have their comments, they support you, great, and I'm sure you've done some great things for many students, as was illustrated here today. However, when I have spoken to families and individuals, especially those who have lost their lives and are in a grave today, and when comments like that are made and you spit on their grave, that is disrespectful.
There's no way you can
So
say
for me,
any
I
comment.
cannot
That's
do that.
ridiculous,
So
man.
I'm not
That's
going
ridiculous.
to
You should
allow
probably just be quiet
for
then.
you to make.
How are my comments spitting on anyone's grave?
It
That's so
is.
irresponsible
That's
from that
what
chair.
So I'm not gonna allow that.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
So we're going to move on.
You gotta
here
do better than that.
for our comments.
Spit on your
So-
grave.
The regular.
Silly.
We're now going to move on to a regular council
Good.
meeting after the
Good.
comments
Stop yourself.
and a consent calendar.
Move the consent.
Second.
First and a second.
Hold on, I'd like to pull item number 4 and